Welcome back to another episode of Just Hoop Talk. You're with Justin Henry, Will Thompson, and today we're talking Philadelphia 76ers. A disappointing end to last season, man, but a lot of offseason changes already. New GM, new coach. We're going to talk about it all and expectations for next season. Stay tuned.
Get it.
You are now tuned in to the next best thing. Justin Henry, Will Thompson.
Yeah,
Let's go.
y'all can talk that talk, but this is just Hoop Talk. Updates on the news, analysis who's who gon' win, who gon' lose. Is it true, is it true? This is just Hoop Talk, this is just Hoop Talk. Ball.
So today we're talking Philadelphia 76ers, and there was a lot of expectations from this team last year. They had brought in some big names via trade, and I think that Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid pairing was expected to do some major damage there in the bubble after their loss to the Raptors the year before. But it didn't turn out that way. And also we saw a new coach come in. We also saw a change at the GM position as well. So what are your thoughts here, man? We got Daryl Morey in there. We got Doc Rivers in there, man. Talk a little bit about this Philadelphia 76ers team.
Ooh, there's a lot to break down with this team, man. Obviously a disappointing finish to the season last year. When you have two young, really great players, I'll call them both really great players, you expect to be more competitive than they are, especially in the Eastern Conference where KD wasn't in Brooklyn. That was their kind of window of opportunity to jump into the finals maybe for a year, but they couldn't get it done. It just seems like Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid just aren't on the same page. Like, rarely see both of those dudes playing well at the same time. Like, I can't even really think of more than probably 10 or 15 game stretch where you're like, yo, those guys are balling right now. Like, they look great together.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like they almost play better when one of the other's not there, which is not a good sign for your young players. Maybe it was coaching. So now they have a new coach. Doc Rivers is coming back to Philly. He's a Philly guy. I think this is a big year for Doc because there's been a lot of questions about his ability, his coaching ability, and kind of his, he's riding off of what he did in Boston, having three great players. Can he be injected into a situation that needs help and be that dude that can turn things around? This is really going to be a big, big year, or a big next couple of years for Doc, to see if he really is that great coach that he's kind of been elevated to. Rightfully so or not, we're about to find out for sure, man.
Yeah, we're going to find out, because this roster is really a good roster. When you talk about Ben Simmons, you talk about Joel Embiid, two of the top young talented pieces there, and they have a pretty good supporting cast too. When you mention a guy like Tobias Harris, you're talking about a point guard even in like Shake Milton, who's kind of emerged as a real viable threat for this offense. And along with the supporting pieces there, Al Horford was an all-star player there in his day. So you have a little bit of talent there to work with, and I think those expectations of the team were there because of that, because of the talent. It's like, what do you do with that talent? You're Doc Rivers. Do you leave Ben Simmons at that point guard role? Are you moving him down, forcing him to play power forward? Are you forcing him to take more shots? So it'll be interesting to see what Doc Rivers does with this team. Does he turn it into kind of that defensive presence that he always has with his teams? Or is he going to let them play their game, And I think just coming out of that also, we have to figure out what's going on with this pairing, because there was a little beef, quote unquote, with Embiid and Simmons. And are they planning on moving someone? And this offseason is really important. They have the number 21 overall pick. But then also, are they going to make a move, man? There's been too many rumors, I think. Too many for this pairing, for Simmons and Embiid. Too many rumors about trades for it not to be, like, really on the radar. I've heard Golden State. You hear the Rockets for Embiid. You hear Simmons for Golden State. And it's like, are they really that close to breaking this thing up already? It's one of those things to think about. Will, you really think that this marriage between Ben Simmons and Embiid is over?
Yeah, it's interesting. We know Daryl Morey, who's taken over there, as an aggressive guy. He's not afraid to pull the trigger. It's an interesting situation because I know Elton Brand is still still there.
Yes.
They have that situation kind of like Jerry West when he would come in and kind of be like this manager. It's weird. I never understand those situations.
Yeah.
But we know Daryl Morey is an aggressive guy. He's not afraid to pull the trigger. He's not afraid to shake things up. And I think his job now is to evaluate the situation and decide moving forward, will this work? Does this make sense? Do these guys complement each other, or are they clashing with each other? And I think what we've seen so far from them is they clash, man.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons is just not a shooter. Like he's 6'10", damn near 6'11", and can get to the basket at will. And I think that's really what he does best, is get to the basket. He's really, really good with the ball in his hands. I don't know if he necessarily needs to be your point guard, but he's really good with the ball in his hands, and he's really good when he's in the painted kind of restricted area. And Joel Embiid is almost the exact same thing, just without being able to handle the ball. I think Joel's probably a better shooter than Ben Simmons. So they're two players that they really have really similar styles of play. And I think maybe in the mid 90s, they would have been a really good team. But the pace of the game and the style of play, I can't see it unless all of a sudden Ben Simmons develops an outside shot and really just develops the want and desire to take that shot. I think even if he doesn't make it so much as if he just becomes a threat, that'll open things up for them. But I just don't feel like that's him. And I think they got to make a move, man. I really do.
Yeah, it's tough because Elton Brand has put a lot of great pieces around this team. You talk about Forsmack as a shooter. You got Josh Richardson there at defense. Drafted Thibault, also a great defender. It's like
really
the
good
pieces are there, and for some reason it just doesn't work. So you're hoping that Doc Rivers is coming in and able to shrug off that overrated or whatever tag you want to put on Doc Rivers. When we're talking about this team moving forward, what are the things that they need to bring, outside of figuring out the Simmons and Embiid type of combo? Will, what do you think are the true needs that they need to address? Because they have to change something. They have good pieces on this team. They have shooters. They got defenders. You got size. You can stretch the floor. You cannot. But it seems like they have the same problem that the Milwaukee Bucks have, in that if you put that wall up against Ben Simmons, the rest of it kind of goes down. Or Embiid tries to take on too much and play hero, and we see that he can only handle so much as the big there. Where do they go from here moving forward this season? Is there a realistic chance at making a deep playoff run with this roster is constructed, or what?
Right. I think they have to make a move, and I think Al Horford is probably the most obvious and easiest move for them to make. It looks like he was a step backwards for them. As much as I like Al Horford, I like his game, I just don't think he fits. I think he's so similar to Embiid and Simmons that it's he's effective in kind of the same area of the court that those two guys are effective in. So why would he it was a log jam with those three guys. So I think with him, maybe one other piece and a draft pick, maybe they move up in the draft, or maybe they make a move for another shooter. Or I would love to see a legitimate point guard there, somebody who can really run the offense. I like Shake, but I really didn't feel like he was 100% comfortable in that point guard role.
Yeah, they're asking a lot of him.
It was a lot, man. They're like, oh, here, now run the offense, And I like Ben Simmons with the ball in his hand, but if you can get the ball out of his hand and you get him in spots where he can be effective on the court, I think he's even better. So I'd love to see them go after a point guard. I don't know. I can't think of anyone right now, but I'd really like to see that, and maybe moving out for a draft pick and some other assets. I don't know exactly how it worked, but that's what I would like to see for them.
Yeah, good point guard. Even like a veteran, just a leader, somebody that can come in there. You start to think like a DJ Augustine, just somebody who can come in there and get buckets and kind of just play direction of the team. But I think they're going to make even bigger splash and probably go to a team that has assets that they're tired of. And you start looking at teams. The one obvious name that really sticks out to me is the Sacramento Kings and Buddy Hield. It's obviously been talked about bringing another shooter there. But then there's also the guy that everybody's been talking about getting traded for Buddy Hield, and that's Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma could bring an interesting dynamic to this team because they're pretty super long. That would allow Ben to kind of still play the point guard position and then also give Embiid what he's looking for and give the Lakers another shooter on the floor and that's still that presence down low. I think it'd be an interesting fit, and I'm pretty sure that the salaries match up as well. So
okay.
Also think about different types of moves, and I can see Al Horford getting moved for that like secondary shooter, somebody that comes off the bench. It's not a true important piece, but he can serve as a veteran presence on a team that is contending. I think that will be the key. Is Al Horford will probably be going to a contender, somebody that's looking to have that veteran presence.
Yes. Yeah, I like that move a lot. I do like him to the Kings, but I would really like to see him in LA. I think that would be even more intriguing. With Kuzma, I still think they need a point guard. I think the perfect example of what they need is like what Rondo brought to the Lakers this year. Right? Like, he doesn't have to be your starting point guard. He doesn't have to change your team entirely, but to have someone who can come in, run the offense, make sure that people are where they're supposed to be, getting people the ball where they're supposed to get it. That's huge for a team with two really great players that kind of have a hard time sharing the ball. You know what I mean? So I think someone in that role would be huge for them, man. Really huge.
And you start to look, you're like, maybe it's not available in a trade. Maybe they don't get it in free agency, but there's also the draft. And so when you have pick number 21, maybe you pair that up to get a little bit higher. Or even if you stand pat, you're starting to look at like a Cassius Stanley. You start to look at some of those point guards down there, even like Cole Anthony. Somebody can come in and get buckets for themselves.
Right.
So there's options for this team, and it's just about putting it together. And I guess that's what we get to see. We get to see Daryl Morey, Elton Brand, Doc Rivers can fix this Philadelphia 76ers team. So disappointing last year. We will find out very soon. Let us know. Do you guys think the Sixers have what it takes in order to bounce back? And I'm tongue-twisting myself with this Sixers and S and stuff, man. But it's going to be an interesting season for them. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Just Hoop Talk, another edition in the books. We are out.
Yes, sir. Peace.